Whoa, John, we're starting with you today.
Hey, wonderful. Well, welcome to Art Takes. This is John Lakey, and that's Art Supernut. And we're doing our great little talk in the sky.
And what do we always say? You can't fix stupid, but ignorance is a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
And boy, is it ever.
And
like that EMT that I tell you about that now, he says, why is it all the really bad YouTube videos start with, here, hold my beer and watch this?
Yeah, I saw a guy actually pouring gas on YouTube. You know, he was trying to goose up the wood fire a little bit. And the guy, he didn't even know that fire will travel up a poured gas thing and into the can. And it's like, geez, you know, when I was young, we were taught that stuff in school. You know, now all they teach somebody is, well, you know, if you feel like you're a woman, that's okay. You have the right to feel like if you're a chipmunk, that's okay.
Well, you know what? I put that kind of tribal knowledge, I think that's what it's called, right up there, you know, about being careful with gasoline and don't hold a firecracker when the fuse burns out and it's going to blow. I put that up there right with where I learned about sex and life and a lot of other things. On a freaking street corner after dark, after we broke the light out, you know, we kind of hang around feeling like we're bad guys. Oh, wow, you know. So I'm sorry, I digress. Go ahead.
I was amazed that there's actually a screen that they call a fire suppressor, and if you get the safety gas tanks, the screen will actually stop the fire from going into the gas tank. I was amazed that they could make something like that. But you think I would ever trust it? Yeah, right. Never.
Speaking as a person that's made a few mistakes in his life, it works very well. Thank you. Now, it'll sit there and you get nice little flames dancing on the screen, but it does. I don't know if it totally stopped it, but it will certainly retard the traveling of the flame front all the way into the gas can, so it won't explode. It'll just burn. Anyway.
Yeah, it was funny. The guy got excited, and of course, what do? You got your hand holding a gas tank. Well, he throws it, and of course, as he throws this gas tank, it starts to do the centrifugal effect, and the liquid splashes out, and he's got about 40 feet behind him in an arc burning. There's his tree. There's his wife's ornamental bushes. He never wore that down. I'll bet you he wasn't allowed to have any beer from then on.
It's funny. I hadn't thought about this in a long time, but I used to work with a guy named Ted. Came into work one day. Ted's reading a newspaper. Well, Ted would read a newspaper from time to time, but nobody reads a newspaper like this. He's literally reading it like that. So I walked up. I said, "What's going on, Ted?" And I still chuckle when I think about the little shreds of skin hanging off his ear and right here. He was building a piece of his own piece of farm equipment. And he was building it himself. Very talented guy. Not always the most thoughtful, but very talented. Well, he found out where he could get a free gas tank. So he goes over to get the free gas tank. Don't ask me why he didn't take tin snips, because it's not that hard to remove a gas tank. He decided to burn the hanging straps off with a torch.
Ooh.
Not bothering to check to see if there was anything still in the gas tank. So, and it's funny because him and his best friend went to get the gas tank. Ted fires up the torch, reaches over there. The minute he came near that gas tank, whoop. He says he came to, he sat up real quick. His best friend's laying over there, and they were in a muddy field. They were lucky. Face down in a muddy field. He was on fire. He looked down to see where he was on fire, which it didn't cause really second or third degree burns. His face was extremely red, the worst sunburn you've ever seen. But it basically took the top layer of skin off. When little pieces were hanging off his ears and stuff. And I just looked at him. I said, "Ted, what were you thinking?" He said, "Oh, I don't know, man. The thing that really made me mad," he said, I even ruined the gas tank, so now I got to find another one.
Yeah.
And wait a minute, by the way, his friend was okay, but they'd sprayed the gas on the front of both of them. So his friend dove, I don't know what the proper term, but he went into a muddy patch to put the fire out. So he's laying there, and poor Ted thought he killed his best friend and ruined the gas tank.
Yeah, and he wasn't sure which one to be the most upset about. But you know,
Knowing Ted, you got that right.
the microabrasion is the term that the dermatologists use when they remove the first layer of skin. Did Ted start looking better after the skin healed, like younger and all that?
I don't know. I never thought much of the way he looked in the first place. So I don't really know that he necessarily looked any better. But, you say microabrasion is the term they use. Flippin' stupid is the term I use.
Well, that brings me up to the thing I just noticed is that, I'm a man, and do I notice when another guy gets a haircut? I notice if I'm trying to be polite. But if I'm just being a man, I don't notice when another guy comes in and looks good. But I do notice that women, when they see each other, they know, oh, yeah, your hair's new. Oh, that's a new, nice dress. It's new. And to me, it's like, I can't even tell you what all their dresses are that I've seen. So there's a definite difference from men to women.
I know for a fact, and there are a lot of women that will admit it, women don't dress for men. Women dress for other women. You don't see a man going on and on and on about the Blanco shoes or these pumps or those stilettos from so-and-so. I mean, I don't even know the names, man. I mean, ask me about DeSoto or Chrysler or Ford. That I know. Don't ask me about shoes or handbags. I mean, I'm strictly from hunger from that stuff.
Well, though, us men do something, and Tim Allen wrote it into fame, tool time. Men do love new tools. The only reason I'm still working is because it justifies me buying new tools. See?
And admit it, a new truck, too.
Oh, yeah, the new truck. Well, people talk about their what do they call those bags when they leave the society, their bug out bags.
Oh.
Yeah, they're bug out bags. And with them, I got a bug out truck, I'm going to drive the friggin' truck. And the thing is I got so many tools in there that, if I might get accepted into the Mad Max Thunderdome people because they say, look, he's got tools.
And it's funny, but several of the after Armageddon stories that I've read talk about books that tell how to fix things. Because once, if everything goes to heck, trying to be nice here, the people that are going to be the most popular are the ones that get things back running a little bit. Excellent movie about this, by the way. It's called The Stand. Stephen King.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Excellent book, excellent movie. A little scary, some parts. But it's a very well thought out example of what is really going to happen. You see all these end of the world things where, he becomes king of the world and this. No. There's a saying, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Not true. Not true at all. Read the full Frankenstein books to find out what really happens if you're the only sighted person in the blind country. You're at a disadvantage.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. I kind of figured out what the end of the story is going to be on that one. Yeah, and it wasn't a good one.
You started in the last show. You were starting to say something about your daughter. Do you remember what it was?
Oh yeah. I was helping her hang the light fixture, and of course, we turned the light off, and she says, "Well, I got to go downstairs and turn the circuit breaker off." I'm glad she's thinking she won't be in a Darwin Awarder. But I says, oh, no, that's okay. We'll just leave the switch off. And I realized that sometimes I get a little forgetful. So every time we started to do something, because it was dark in the room a little bit, I'd say, now don't turn the lights on. Because, my son was wiring the light, and then I was wiring the light. We had trouble with the the kit. The kit was, that's how I know aliens are here on the planet. All the instructions are written by aliens, and I don't know how they get the jobs. It must be something to do with that federal equal opportunity stuff. So
Either that or the Alien Relocation Act.
yeah, and I'm talking Martians, and some people from the dark side of the moon, and there's even some people from Ganymede up there. And it was just terrible, but nobody got electrocuted yesterday. It must be because I read Darwin Awards.
It just occurred to me, you said people from the dark side of the moon. Wasn't that, I can't
Pink
think of
Floyd
the group. Pink
album.
Floyd. Maybe Pink Floyd. Maybe all our big rock and roll stars are really aliens that came down here and given their start. Because, I mean, some of these people are so ridiculously, wonderfully talented. I'm not. So they got to be aliens.
Yeah. I wish I wish I was talented. My only talent seems to be rambling and rolling with words.
Yeah. I have often said, if it wasn't for rambling on incoherently, I wouldn't have a thing to offer.
Although I did learn how to brew a mean beer, actually a very good beer, a very good wine. And I guess if you really wanted to survive the apocalypse, you get brewing equipment, beer, wine, and the moonshine. And most societies will want to keep you as part of their society because with you, they can have alcohol,
Well, I mean, there was even alcohol mentioned in the Bible, so it's not like there's anything wrong with that. But I see your point. I'm not worrying about the apocalypse. When it gets here, then I'll worry about it. In the meantime, I'll just keep on keeping on and figure out where all the people that have all the guns and all the little things hidden, I'll know where they are. So when the apocalypse comes, I only got to get rid of one person.
Yeah, and I also know how you do the apocalypse. In your bug-out bag, you just have a crowbar and some bolt cutters so you could get in and take what you needed.
And I've been told a wonderfully disarming smile. No, I tell you what, I think we're skirting on the edge of too much BS here.
Yeah, you got something you can read off?
Yeah, let's get it back on track here. This one got me, too. Cody, Wyoming. Brucellosis was detected in a cattle herd, which was placed in quarantine. And I didn't even know that Bruce Willis was in Wyoming.
Yeah, I heard his wife lived up that way, but I don't know. No, it was Idaho. Can you imagine living in Idaho? It gets like 30, 40 below in the winter because you don't have the Great Lakes to moderate the temperature. You're walking outside, it's minus 40 below and blowing wind. I mean, geez Louise. Well, I guess you can eat whatever you want because you just burn it out if you go outside because your body's burning everything it can to stay warm.
Well, I got to tell you, sorry, I got to learn how to do this again. Last person said Idaho to me, I got slapped in the face because I totally misunderstood what she was talking about.
Yeah, I'll bet you did.
Here's another goofy one. Olympia, Washington. Voters in 2 counties were mistakenly sent ballot return envelopes that require postage. If you want to vote, what difference does it make you got to pay 30 or 40 cents? Get out there and vote anyway.
Yeah, I'd pay my own postage to vote. I vote. I'm over 60 now, so legally I can absentee ballot every time. So I get the ballot. I go home and I look under Google about the people, and then I can vote because an informed vote.
Oh, here's one. Brownsville, Texas. Solid median barriers along Highway 48 might be modified to better protect nesting penguins.
Penguins?
No, I'm sorry. It says pelicans. That's one of the wonderful things in life. Everything is so funny when you really can't hear or you don't pay attention when you read.
Yes, that's the thing we have to do is learn to accept all our shortcomings and laugh at them. Because otherwise, we're going to go out and we're going to buy about 10 gallons of vodka and we're just going to drink ourselves to death, Got to have fun, bud.
Exactly. Let's see. I'm Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Authorities say a mother shot and wounded her teenage son. You know what's funny, John? You pointed out to me more than once. No man has ever been shot doing the dishes.
Yeah, or chugging Gatorade. But yeah, I know it's like crazy, you know. So if some women are going off on PMS syndrome, you know, they got Trump derangement syndrome, but the original one was PMS syndrome. And before that, really, it was PTSD on the returning soldiers, you know, and they had a hard time. But you know, they weren't that bad on the ones coming back from World War I and World War II, because they had 3 months on the ship where they would come back to society. So each day they could shed a little more of their war stuff. So you think we learned from that? No, we throw them on an airplane and fly them right back. And then they come in society and they don't cope, they don't blend in again, and they wind up killing themselves.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, because that's one factor. The fact that coming back from Europe and the Pacific Theater took a significant amount of time for the people to decompress and get used to being back home with people that they didn't have to worry about. But another factor, and it's funny because it came out in a, I'll think of it in a second, but the song is called 19. And it points out the fact that the average age of the man in Europe was 26 years old, the fighting man.
Yeah.
In Vietnam, it was 19 years old. And there's a significant difference, even physical differences, in people from 19 to 26, which is obviously going to make a big difference in how they cope with things. I can't. It's funny because I thought about this guy just earlier today, because he did another song called Sound Chaser, and it was being used as a background for something my wife had on TV. Paul Hardcastle, that's the guy's name. Paul Hardcastle. Yeah. Excellent kind of jazz, good stuff. But Sound Chaser and 19 are both on the same album, and it's called Sound Chaser. So if you get the chance, check it out, pick it up, download it, whatever you want to do.
And
go ahead.
Not to be confused with 19 from Steely Dan. And that song was basically about a 40-something rocker getting romanced by a 19-year-old, because, you know, he was famous and she was doing the gold digger thing. And he was like, boy, he realized he did not have anything in common with her.
Well, okay, a couple funny things about that. Number one, I think the song was called Hey 19.
Yeah.
Number two, there's a Jefferson Airplane song called Martha. And I just happened to find out that Martha was actually the daughter of a mayor in California who left home at 13 to be a roadie, to be a groupie with Jefferson Airplane. And the police out there went nuts trying to find her and never could. Little weird, huh?
Yeah, there's some weird stuff there. You know, if I probably did good where I was at. You know, growing up in Michigan is one of the best things in the world, because, you know, you get to sit there and hold your hand up like this and say, you know, this is where I live. And, you know, it makes it easy to get home, you know.
Just got to be sure you don't hold your hand the wrong way. you really confuse some people. Yeah. And another thing I wanted to bring out is the fact that, oddly enough, I've run into a lot of people, even my grandson, from late teens up to about 30, that are really, really into the music from the 60s and 70s, our era, partly because, you know, personal opinion, but I think it's a lot better than a lot of the crap you got out there now. And it's fairly strange how it's easier to talk to, especially at my age, to talk to somebody that's 40 or 50 years younger, because we, oddly enough, have a great deal in common. Some of even the old TV shows are being caught on that Me TV and some of the other stations that show nothing but old stuff, and they're coming back in popularity.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of creativity then. You know, I'm not going to...
Space aliens.
A lot of creativity, and the high high fidelity, that's the word, recordings allow the stuff made in the 60s to sound as good as the stuff made now. And, 60s and 70s was really, look at the pressure cooker we were under. We had the Vietnam War. Now what do the kids do? They chew Tide Pods, for, their adventure. Well, we were worried about going to Vietnam and getting shot, and they're just trying to chew the Tide Pod and rinse it out with water before they get sick.
Well, it just goes to show you how stupid people can be. Here's another one I want to bring up. Having lived in New Hampshire, Ringy, New Hampshire, police are seeking the public's help in identifying a man who poured maple syrup on a police cruiser. Now, I don't know if you remember, but a couple of weeks ago, we had another state where somebody poured maple syrup on a police cruiser. We get a serial syruper. But that sounded syruper. But it's funny because it was two different states. People are pouring maple syrup, and the worst part about it is that nobody knows who it is.
Now, they won't do it in Michigan because Michigan made the Recreational Marijuana Act come true. And people start pouring syrup on maple syrup on top of police cruisers. They'll go out and the police will come back and there'll be people licking the police cruiser, And what you gonna do with them, And they'll just tell the judge, "I was cleaning it off, sir. I wasn't high. I was just cleaning it off."
Well, here's something I just happened to notice, and I want to bring it out, and I want to bring out something else. District of Columbia, U.S. Census Bureau data show only 1 in 11 residents in the nation's capital are of trick-or-treating age, the lowest rate in the nation. Now, number one, I think that's a shame. But number two, have you noticed how many more politicians we seem to have in Washington, D.C. since they closed up the Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey circus and all the clowns must have gone to D.C.?
Yeah. And when I was a kid in high school, I thought D.C. meant direct current, And then I heard this band, AC/DC, and I was wondering, were they electricians who became rock stars or what? I didn't know what they meant.
Or D.C., dumb clowns.
And then I finally figured out what DC meant. It was about, your sexual orientation, Are you running AC or DC? And I was like, ooh, too much info.
That's one thing I got to say. That's something I just learned.
Yeah, like the Kinks singing Lola, And we loved that song in the 60s, just absolutely loved it. And we weren't homophobic or nothing. We just loved the song. We just figured if somebody wants to do something, that's their problem and possibly enjoyment. Because we were just, you can do that. We were concerned about is I don't want to go to Vietnam.
Jeez. Yeah. Speaking, it's Veterans Day just passed by, so you keep going on and on about that. But you got to remember that the Kinks were English.
Oh, they were.
Oh, yeah. Once again, I can't think of that guy's name. But he did another one, talked about him and his sister going to this dance hall. And that's when I learned they were English because they kept talking about going to these dances. And the words he used, when I looked up to try to figure out what they all meant, I realized that he was from England.
Yeah.
See, there's...
Okay.
Well, the Beatles, obviously, Rolling Stones, and I was always a Stones guy, not a Beatles guy. Keep making faces. I'll know to change the camera. The Kinks, now the Guess Who were Canadian.
Yeah.
Just like Bachman Turner Overdrive. But
yeah, we had the Guess Who and we had the Who. That was crazy. You just couldn't figure out. The next thing you're going to guess who's coming for dinner, and they made a movie on that, but they didn't sing.
Well, Burton Cummings I really liked his singing voice. Orly, and nobody seems to remember the name of the one. It's not called Albert Flasher. It's a totally different name for the song, but everybody says, "Oh, Albert Flasher." Yeah, We all know what we're talking about, but that's not the title of the song.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. You know, song is one of the best crowning achievements of society. Without music, I think we'd all kill each other because music just helps me relax, and then I'm not so, oh, that guy did that. And of course, the guy didn't do it intentionally, but I think he did it intentionally, and, all that crap. And instead of just, can't we all get along?
Well, what bothers me so much is the fact that everybody thinks they're a victim. They're not. Sometimes you got to nut up, princess, and say, hey, it was my fault. I screwed up. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, or I'm sorry this. It doesn't make you a smaller person to say I'm sorry. It makes you a bigger person. On the other hand, if you're not sorry, don't say it, man. But
yeah. And I just figure, somebody doesn't have to be sorry. They can wrong me and all this stuff, and I don't have to do anything about him. I can just go under my breath, oh, what a jerk, and then walk away. And I go home, play with the cat, and I'm all good. I don't have to worry about what he did. He can carry his own anger around with him, because carry your anger around and it burns you out, bud.
Yeah, you just crawl back into that hyperbaric chamber in your bed of super salty water where you actually float.
Yeah.
And you turn on the soothing music, and the next thing you know, you're asleep again, and your brain's going crazy. It's going.
Yeah, and I'm next year I'm hoping to get a bigger one of those hyperbaric chambers with the salt water in it, so I can get little dolphins, to keep me company.
Yeah, that's one thing I've never understood. It seems like a lot of people keep fish. I used to keep fish. Tried breeding them, actually. But you hardly ever see anybody with dolphins. Maybe it's, like with dogs, people want the looks of a Doberman, but they don't want a Doberman, so they get a Chihuahua. Why don't they make mini dolphins so that in its fresh water, they can live in fresh water, so fresh water is easier to take care of than salt water, and you can pet them. And, if you're with them enough, maybe you can start learning how to talk to them.
Well, they really are intelligent. I'm sure there's dolphins out there that are more intelligent than some of the guys I went to school with.
Well, they won't talk to us, so that shows they're pretty smart.
Yeah, because some of the guys I went to school with won't talk to me either. So I know the dolphins are as smart as them.
Not the same reason, though, John.
Oh, darn.
I quit talking to a lot of people I went to school with because I got tired of being asked for money, because I didn't have any either.
Well, money, money is something. Money happened when somebody had too many horses and too much food to, keep it all. So they started trading it and making money. And now we got that Federal Reserve. Those people are not really nice. They don't play nice at all.
We're going to have to get into this something, because most people don't realize money and booze was actually devised so that you could be taxed and so that you could store what you had worked for without it rotting like grain will do. Anyway, once again, John, we're down to the last few seconds, so we're going to have to say bye-bye.
And booze doesn't have, you can use it to clean your cuts.
Yeah, as a last resort.
Cut.